Well, good morning and welcome back to the final fabulous segment here on CityLine. We have been enjoying the brief snippets that we've had during our commercial breaks of Kareem Kandi. We thought the least we could do would be to invite him to come sit on the couch. So Kareem Kandi, welcome, my dear.
Hello, thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. We're going to talk about Tacoma Jazz Walk because you are, among other things, of the many hats you wear, the executive director of the Kareem Kandi World Orchestra. My goodness. So let's get into this because you, as we were talking in the green room, I could not believe how much you have on your plate. This is the third year of your nonprofit. And so we're going to talk about the Tacoma Jazz Walk. It's new. Tell us what we need to know about it.
Well, it's one day. It's on March 7th, and it's going to feature multiple venues in the downtown Tacoma footprint and over 50 artists performing all over the area. In all the different venues, and it's open to all ages, and a wristband will allow you access to see all of the shows, and there's a vast variety of different types and styles of jazz to pick and choose from.
What was the inspiration for it? Or first off, when did you receive the inspiration, and then why?
Sure. Well, originally it was a partnership with the Tacoma Jazz Association, which I was the director of, which is now the Kareem Kandi World Orchestra, which allows us to do more things musically outside of just jazz, but that's the main focus. And also Jazz Clubs Northwest, which is based out of North Bend. So yeah, that was the original partnership, and when we put it together, that was the beginnings of that.
My goodness. So here you are, keeping all the plates spinning. Private lessons.
Yes.
You've got 2 children under 5.
Yes.
You have a partner. Your partner works outside of the home. At what point do you say, amidst all of that, I think I need to have one day devoted to jazz with 50 artists, Kareem?
Well, I mean, it's a cool thing to be able to do something on such a large scale because
Yes.
Tacoma rarely sees something of that nature, particularly with jazz, which is 1% of the music industry. And, living in Tacoma since 1979, jazz has always been this underground thing. No matter how many things that I produce throughout the year, people are always saying, oh, I never knew anything like this was going on. And there's lots of stuff happening all the time. It's just,
right.
It's hard to find that information sometimes. So it's nice to have a big, massive scale event like this.
Absolutely. So if people are kind of scratching their head, as you alluded to, and saying, what is the Kareem Kandi World Orchestra? What do you say to them?
Sure. Well, we do several things. It's a nonprofit organization based here in Tacoma, and we do a lot of classes and workshops and performances, most of which throughout the year are 100% free for all ages to attend and participate in. There is a nominal fee for our classes, but we do have scholarships available if people want to participate but can't afford it, so we can do that as well. But most of the things that we produce, both with great local artists and guest artists, are 100% free to participate in around Tacoma.
And here we have some shots of I saw, of course, here you are in your glory. I love this. This is actually the orchestra in some places that's the Swiss, of course.
Yeah, these are some of our student series. So we do, with our classes, every month our students have multiple opportunities to go perform in public with professional musicians. So the shots that you see of the Swiss are actually some of our students performing. The last shot was some of my students from the Tacoma School of the Arts that were performing with us at our upcoming VF House concert series that we do quarterly in Tacoma. So yeah, there's lots of education and lots of performance.
And you've got, and in addition to the guest artist series, you've got students that you work with. And then what else do you want us to remember that's coming up throughout this year?
Well, the next thing, the big concert that we're doing is April 3rd at the VF Mansion in Tacoma, which is a fundraiser for one of our international exchanges. We do multiple international exchanges throughout the year where we go to other countries to teach, perform, and play. And all of those performances that we do are free and open to the citizens in other countries, and then we bring those artists here to do the same thing in Tacoma. And those concerts and workshops are free for the audience to attend. And then those artists talk about their culture, their hometown, their country, and how they got to play jazz and what it means to them. And because it's a totally different perspective.
Absolutely. And that is the dinner and music series we're talking about at the VF Mansion.
Yes.
Wow, that's incredible. Let's talk about, you mentioned briefly, just quickly on that international exchange. What are you currently working on right now?
The next one, we're going to be going again to France in the fall, both Nice again, which is, Tacoma has a sister city with Biot, so we'll be teaching and working with their kids there and doing a lot of performances and concerts. And then I think Paris for one day this time because of the itinerary. Yeah, and then I'm also working on another exchange with Japan, down with Fukuoka and the southern part of Japan as well.
That is incredible. So when we think about some of those places that you've been and you say there is differences, what are one of the differences that comes to mind?
Well, a big part of jazz is one, it's improvisational in nature, which means it's just like talking. They have, when I say they, the musicians in other countries that we work with, we take two musicians from here and then we work with musicians in other countries, and they grew up with a totally different set of folk music and traditional songs than say we would have here in Tacoma, Washington. And that definitely influences the way that they play, just like the way that, you know, with vocabulary and phonetics, how that influences the way people play and improvise. So it's not just reading music off a page like you would with classical music or the same rendition of, say, like a rock song, but the big thing about jazz is the improvisational aspect. So the way that they improvise and play will be totally different because of the influences they've had, which is both regional and generational.
How amazing. So how do you bridge that gap?
Well, there's like for say example, you and I are having a conversation right now. We have a topic, so the song would be the topic, and then when we improvise, that is the conversation bouncing off musical ideas back and forth amongst the musicians.
That is amazing. So you have, in some cases, perhaps a language barrier, but there's also a musical language barrier that you have too.
Well, not so much of a barrier. So when we were in Japan, for example, my Japanese is atrocious. And the musicians that we were working with there, they didn't speak English so well, but as soon as we started playing, we could communicate absolutely clearly. And like I said, you don't get that with classical music or other forms of music, but with jazz, because of the improvisation, you are having a conversation with notes and rhythms and styles of music within that spectrum.
That is incredible. And do you have recordings of what you've done in that exchange that people can listen to?
We did it when we were there. It was such a whirlwind, but moving forward, we will be doing recordings. And I hope that when we have those musicians come here for the exchange, that we do some recording here as well.
I hope so too, because that is just fascinating to me. When I asked you before we got on the air what the rest of your day was like, you mentioned that you have your own private practice of students that you teach. How lucky are they? But you also do some work with Tacoma School of the Arts.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I am approaching my 20th year at Tacoma School of the Arts. I believe I was the first artist in residence they hired to teach the jazz classes there. And so currently I run the big band there as well as the jazz combos.
That is incredible. So, okay, let's talk about some of the students that you've seen pass through there, and where are they now?
Sure. Well, one is Ty Accord, who goes by
Yes.
Lo-File. He's received a Grammy for working on collaborating on an album with her, and I think he's now a producer for Blue Note Records. His brother, Sky Accord, is a very accomplished bassist, and he tours with a band called Issues, and I believe he's endorsed and has his own bass line. But those are just two. I mean, I could go on and on. There are tons of great artists that I see, and some go on to be very astute and well-known artists, and others go on just to have good lives in music and appreciate music and play. So that it's a very unique environment to be in and to be a part of.
Absolutely, my goodness. So how can people get involved with the Kareem Kandi World Orchestra?
Sure. Well, they can contact me directly. All of my information is on our website, which I believe you're showing here, my phone number and a website. But yeah, I could use the help because there's so many things and wheels turning all the time, but would love volunteers if people want to be in the loop of what's going on with classes and performances. But just contacting me, emailing me, or calling me is the best way to get involved with what we're doing.
Absolutely, because all of this momentum is the power of one. It's you. You do have a board, but you are executing all of this musical goodness.
Yes.
So many hands make for light work, so you could use some good volunteers.
Definitely, yes.
Who would you like to thank in this last minute?
Oh, definitely our sponsors. So big ones are KNKX, Ted Brown Music, Titus Will, Edward Jones, financial consultant Rick Gray, and then of course all of the musicians and teachers and people that come out to listen, and students, everyone that supports live music in Tacoma, and particularly live jazz.
Yeah, we love live jazz. So I want to bring this back home. You have two children under the age of 5.
Yes.
We were talking about how you balance this out.
Yes.
So from one parent to another, and then back to all of the parents who are watching right now, if you have little ones, and you're thinking, like for instance, my brother is a jazz drummer. And the first thing my mom did when we had a sense that something was going on with him was she put all the pots and pans on the ground and handed him some wooden spoons. And that was probably the first concert we ever got from my brother Bill. What do you say to that to encourage children to grow their love of music?
Sure, I would say just let people play and let it be fun. You know, I've been teaching now for close to 30 years,
Yes.
and when it's forced, children seem to want to resent it. So I would say let kids have fun and play. And there's lots of different teaching styles too. Some people want to have their children, you know, you must study with this person, and it might not be a good fit, and then that turns the students off. So it's finding a good instructor that works with your child's personality and mentality, and just letting them. If it becomes not fun, why do it? And the kids feel that instantly.
So before I say goodbye to our audience here, the big thing is the whole practicing. Where do you fall on that?
I think it's more important to do a little bit every day if you can. And of course, I think, you know, being a teacher, you know, learning the sight reading aspect, but also just playing by ear and playing music that the students want to play. If they want to play funk or rock or modern stuff or classical, let them play that, but also have some of the focus practice as well.
You are amazing. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. You have such a busy life, taking time out to play in our breaks, but also just sitting down and talking. I see you, I pass you so many times in our city, and you're always running to something else. I feel honored that you stopped and sat down for this 12 minutes. And
Thank you.
Much love and much health and happiness to you and your family.
And to you as well.
Thank you so much. Well, that wraps up another great segment of CityLine. It is always a pleasure and privilege to be in your home. We've given you some great things to think about in this past hour, so please go out there, pay it forward, and be a part of the tapestry. And when you come back, as always, we'll be waiting for you right here at CityLine. Take care.
Tacoma, that's my home, yeah, Tacoma, that's my home. Tacoma, that's my home, place I call my own. Tacoma, that's my home, yeah, Tacoma, that's my home. Oh, you're from Seattle, oh, you're from LA, oh, you're from Chicago, but Tacoma's where you'll stay. Oh, you're from Seattle, Chicago, but Tacoma's where you'll stay, yeah. Tacoma, that's my home, from the fires to the loam. Tacoma, that's my home, yeah. Tacoma, that's my home. Tacoma, that's my home, place I call my own. Tacoma, that's my home, yeah. Tacoma, that's my home. Oh, you're from the east end. Tacoma's where you'll stay. Oh, you're from the easy. Oh, you're from Green Bay. Oh, you're from Atlanta, but Tacoma's where you'll stay. Yeah, Tacoma, that's my home. From the